Hey guys, Sean here, and today I'm going to be talking about what are some of the rarest pieces of Thomas home video in the world. First off, let's talk about what it means to be rare. There's a difference between being rare and being hard to find and being sought after. Let's use Wooden Railway as an example. The 1999 Flying Scotsman is very sought after, but not exactly hard to find because there are loads of eBay listings at any one time. And the 2013 Soda Bakery Delivery and the 2014 Lady are very hard to find, probably because nobody's looking for them. An item like Lorry 3 is very much both because it was exclusive to a 2003 value pack that was available as a reward to customers who sent in a certain number of coupons in a 3-pack with other rare items, Boko and Tiger Moth. So I'm going to judge the rareness of the items in this top 10 based on how many people I can assume have it, how hard it is to find on the internet, and how much people are asking for when they're selling it. Oh, and just because these tapes are super hard to find, it doesn't mean that they're actually worth hundreds of dollars, and you shouldn't just go on eBay and drive up the auction price on tapes that you think are rare but are actually not worth that much, showing to other eBay listers that if they post a rare Thomas tape, they can get hundreds of dollars for it, thereby destroying the market for VHS collectors. Come on, the Chad Valley VHS tape is not worth £100, and the 2003 Christmas collection is not worth £1,000, even if it is sealed. If you want to know what is the most common piece of Thomas home video, there are a lot of answers. Basically all of the 98 episodic DVD releases are super easy to find, but for VHS tapes, the strand home video release of the first 9 VHS tapes, minus Tendas and Turntables, are the most common ones, as well as the first release of every VHS released from Cranky Bugs to Percy Saves the Day. So let's get started. Number 10. Thomas and the Really Brave Engines and Tales from the Tracks on VHS. The reason why these two are rare is because they were released in 2006, the very last year of VHS's lifespan, and right before Blu-ray came out and all the stores just started getting rid of their VHS tapes. So obviously these were on shelves for a very limited time, which is why they're so rare. Number 9, the 3 sampler VHS tapes. Most people know about these. Thomas's Soda Stories came with a Wooden Railway set called the Classic Figure 8 set from 2003, exclusive to Toys R Us. Thomas's Soda Story set came in a take-along set called the Engine Works, supposedly. And Thomas's Train Yard Adventures came in a box that looks like this, but I don't know exactly where those boxes were released. I was lucky to find all 3 of them because Thomas's Soda Stories I got in the very first VHS lot I ever got off of eBay back in like 2011, and the other 2 I got from Oliver Levin GWR. Number 8, the 3 Blockbuster exclusive VHS tapes. Everybody knows about these. Thomas's Useful Stories is a double feature of Thomas and His Friends Help Out and Thomas Comes to Breakfast. Thomas's Magical Musical Ride is a double feature of Sing Along and Thomas's Trackside Tunes. And Thomas's Fan Favorite Adventures is a double feature of Best of Percy and Best of James. And right now there are only 7 people that I know that have a copy of Thomas's Useful Stories and Thomas's Magical Musical Ride, and only 6 people that I know that have a copy of Thomas's Fan Favorite Adventures. And there's only about 1 or 2 that actually have all 3. Number 7, Cassette 2. Also known as Further Adventures of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, this was the second ever Thomas VHS ever released, from 1985. It contains the second half of Season 1, where Cassette 1 contained the first half, and right now I know of only 5 people that own a copy. For some reason, it's a lot harder to find than Cassette 1. Oh, by the way, if you're trying to look for Cassette 1, make sure it doesn't have the word Kaleidoscope in a gray box on the top. If it does have the Kaleidoscope text, it's the original version of Thomas and Gordon and Other Stories from 1986, and it contains the first 8 episodes instead of the first 13. Number 6, 3 Splendid Episodes. There are a lot of obscure promotional UK VHS tapes, like these 3 that came in a pack with the coloring book, and this one that came with the coloring book, and this one that came with the coloring book, but 3 Splendid Episodes is definitely the rarest. This is a 1999 promotional VHS exclusive to Thomas token collectors from the Thomas Fan Club. And a fellow VHS collector from the UK, Emerald Green Studios, this is the only VHS tape that he doesn't have any version of. That's how rare it is. People in the UK can't even find it. Number 5, Great Destinations. This is a Blockbuster exclusive double feature of Songs from the Station and Calling All Engines. And right now there are only 3 people that I know that have it. Lego Lover 117, this guy, and whoever bought this eBay lot. And fun fact, I actually remember getting this from Blockbuster around 2005 and 6, but I've just never seen it since, hence why it's so rare. Number Number 4, the Australian DVD release of Happy Holidays. As I said in my Random Facts Part 5, it was a DVD release exclusive to Australia, and on the cover it said that there were 3 songs on the DVD, but the DVD didn't have those 3 songs, and they were recalled quickly, which is why it's really rare nowadays. Go. Number 3, entertainment to grow up with and starting this fall on PBS. Entertainment to grow up with and starting this fall on PBS are what's known as screener VHS tapes. The first one was released in 1995 and has a couple Britt Allcroft shows on it, Adventures of Mumphy, and also some Thomas music videos on it. And the second one, starting this fall on PBS, has a couple Thomas airing blocks on it that was distributed in 2004 to a couple PBS stations. We only know of one copy of the entire world, but somebody noticed that the thumbnail for Let's Have a Race on the official Thomas YouTube channel uses a screenshot that looks like it's from this VHS. So maybe somebody at Mattel has it. And for starting this fall on PBS, we first discovered it in this eBay lot, and when somebody pointed it out to the seller, they relisted the lot without that tape and sold it to another guy without the VHS inside of it for some reason. But then a little while later, somebody actually found it with the VHS inside of it, and that's how we discovered that there was airings on it. Number 2. This one is a weird one because there are a lot of DVDs and VHSs released in other countries that are basically impossible to find in America, but you can find them if you know where to look within those countries. So the international releases that I'm putting in this spot are these 3 Icelandic DVDs, as well as these 3 French tapes and the 3 French-Canadian tapes. These Icelandic DVDs contain all of Season 1 and the first 7 episodes of Season 2, because they were also released in other Northern European countries. And also Season 13 was released on video on demand, but that's besides the point. Thomas wasn't popular, probably because there was no public railways on Iceland, and these pictures are just stock pictures. I can't even find a picture of the Icelandic DVDs except for this one. And for the French tapes, as I said in my Random Theories video, they contain all of Seasons 1 and 2, but nobody I know of actually has any of those 3 VHS tapes. Just the DVD versions, which only goes up to like half of Season 2. And these 3 French-Canadian tapes are French versions of Cranky Bugs, Races, Rescues, and Runaways, and Make Someone Happy. And the only people that I know of that have all 3 of them is Oliver Love and GWR, and one other guy who's from Canada. And the number 1 rarest Thomas home video release is the complete series 4 and 5 released in a single VHS tape. I know what you're thinking, how can a complete series tape be the rarest home video release ever? Well, the standard edition of the complete series 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 had 2 VHS tapes inside of the case. And the single tape variants of the first 3 are rare enough, but aside from a scan of the complete series 5 single tape, the cover and label on the wiki, nobody I know of actually has a copy of one or has ever seen another picture of it. And we don't even know if a single tape Series 4 even exists, because nobody has ever seen a picture of it on the internet or in real life. But if Seasons 1, 2, 3, and 5 exist in a single tape, then 4 has to exist. But the question is, where is it? Now let's talk about rare variants of common releases. There are a lot of uncommon variants of common Thomas home video releases, and over the last couple years I've made a Google Doc as well as a poster on PowerPoint with an image of every US VHS label that I can find. And so far I have 330 different labels. And I also went to Vistaprint and printed out a 24x36 poster of the picture that I made on PowerPoint. Look at all of these different labels. Yeah, and for a lot of these, I actually don't know how rare they actually are. I just took a picture from the wiki or on the internet, or they were shared around on Discord, and I don't actually know how many people own them. Labels like this one, and this one, and this one. But I did manage to make a list of variants that are semi-well-known and also really hard to find. So first, let's start off with the obvious one, the George Carlin Thomas Gets Tricked. This one is by far one of the most sought-after and well-known rare Thomas VHS tapes. And although it's like really hard to find, I still haven't found one. It's not like super impossible to find because there are plenty of people in my Discord server and on Twitter that own a copy. But ones that are super impossible to find is the Percy's Ghostly Trick Early Master. Only 2 people that I know have it. As I said in my theories video, it's a version of Percy's Ghostly Trick that doesn't have Thomas's anthem at the beginning of the tape, and also Thomas and the Missing Christmas Tree at the end of the tape. And for more variants that I talked about in my theories video, the Kmart version of Thomas and His Friends Get Along, there are about 7 people that I know that have it, and also the echoed version of Trust Thomas and Thomas Percy and the Dragon. These two are the hardest to find of the echoed tapes because the echoed version of Thomas Gets Bumped and Daisy are basically the most common variant of VHS tape, and the echoed versions of Percy's Ghostly Trick and Thomas Gets Tricked are less common, but definitely not as rare as the echoed Trust Thomas and Thomas Percy and the Dragon. And the last one that I talked about in my theories video, the James Goes Buzz Buzz with the Thomas's Christmas Party at the end of the tape. I don't know how many people own them, but it's gotta be like less than 10. And another weird one is the Avon version of Percy's Ghostly Trick that contains the early 1995 master. Yeah, in the 90s, there was a store called Avon, and they released a special version of James Goes Buzz Buzz and Percy's Ghostly Trick, and there's at least one person that has a copy of the Avon version that has the early 1995 master on it. Now when we talk about rare variants of covers, here is the Thomas Percy and the Dragon with Diesel on the cover. This has got to be a prototype because if you look at this picture, you can see like a display of VHS tapes and there's a picture of Diesel on the side, so that's got to be a prototype picture. There are only two people that I know that have it, this guy and this guy. And there's also the Time Life Daisy and James Goes Buzz Buzz. These two are the rarest Time Life releases to find, probably because they have basically the same exact cover as the standard version, and it was like right at the end of the lifespan of doing it, I guess. And there's also a version of the 1991 Better Late Than Never, where on the back it has the UK titles instead of the US titles, where instead of Diesel's Devious Deed, A Close Shave for Duck, and Gordon Takes a Dip, it lists A Close Shave, Off the Rails, and Dirty Work. Now let's talk about more recent VHS labels. The 2004 variant of Thomas Gets Tricked, James Goes Buzz Buzz, Make Someone Happy, and Best of James. Oliver Levin GWR is the only person that I know that has a 2004 James Goes Buzz Buzz. Him and Jira have a 2004 Make Someone Happy. Those two, another guy and myself, have the 2004 version of Thomas Gets Tricked. And for the 2004 Best of James, nobody even knew it existed until like very recently when they discovered it on this YouTube channel. So this guy is the only person that I know that has a 2004 Best of James. Another variant that I only know of one copy in the entire world is the ink label version of Thomas's Useful Stories. Jira is the only person that I know that has a copy. Most of the regular copies of that tape have the sticker label, like the one that I have, but his is the only version that I know of that has a sticker label. And here's something that we just found out recently. This guy, Brahal, discovered a version of the Australian release of Troublesome Trucks and Other Stories that has captions built into the video. But the funny part is that the captions, are only the surface level descriptions of what's going on. They're not actually transcripts. The Fat Controller is called the Fat Boss. My guess is that they were made for hard of hearing kids, because we do know the people that made them from this credit, and we can assume that the Thomas and Gordon and Cole VHS tapes were made in that style, but nobody's ever found them. We just have one copy of the Troublesome Trucks with weird captions. So that was the top 10 rarest pieces of Thomas home video that I could find. If you happen to have any of these items, just consider yourself lucky, and also don't be a Diesel and sell it on eBay for hundreds of dollars. So I hope you had a good 2022, and here's to an even better 2023.